Back in the heyday of Hollywood, the booze was practically flowing like a river. That was before all the crazy drunken mishaps, like when Errol Flynn single-handedly shut down the Warner Brothers studio lot bar. And it was definitely before people started realizing the havoc alcohol could wreak on their bodies and their lives. Back then, the actors under contract with the studios had pretty much a free pass to do whatever they pleased, as long as it could be discreetly swept under the rug by the studio's fixer. These old-school actors didn't just enjoy a few drinks at swanky parties. They were sipping on cocktails while on set, and even while cruising around town. Of course, our understanding of alcoholism has evolved over the years. Many of the folks who'd be labeled alcoholics in today's society were just seen as the life of the party back in those days. But there were some true legends among the old Hollywood drinkers, and this video tells the wild stories of their hedonistic lives. It's a real eye-opener and a cautionary tale for anyone looking to avoid a similar fate. Peter O'Toole. It's quite astonishing to contemplate that someone with such striking bright blue eyes as Peter O'Toole could have been one of Hollywood's most notorious alcoholics. He once candidly admitted to David Letterman that during his era, drinking was simply something everyone did, whether they had plans for the day or not. O'Toole even claimed that alcohol had a positive impact on his performances on the silver screen. One memorable instance that comes to mind is the iconic scene in Lawrence of Arabia, where O'Toole's character leads a camel raid. Surprisingly, both O'Toole and his co-star, Omar Sharif, were genuinely fearful of camels. To overcome their apprehensions, they made a rather daring choice. They decided to be thoroughly intoxicated throughout the entire scene. It's often said that alcohol provides liquid courage, and in this case, it seemed to do the trick. O'Toole chuckles when people inquire about that scene because, truth be told, he doesn't remember it at all. Leonard Nimoy. One drink led to another, spiraling into an abyss of addiction, challenging even Mr. Spock's renowned control. And before Leonard knew it, he was ensnared in a cosmic whirlpool he couldn't escape. Leonard Nimoy, famously known as Mr. Spock from the iconic Star Trek series, battled an alcohol addiction during his time on the show. Nimoy later revealed that he turned to alcohol as a means of coping with the long and demanding days on the Star Trek set. According to William Shatner, who co-starred alongside Nimoy, the actor resorted to drinking to numb the overwhelming pressures and disappointments that often accompanied stardom. Recognizing the destructive impact of alcohol on his life, Nimoy eventually took the courageous step of entering rehabilitation once the filming for Star Trek had concluded. While he successfully conquered his alcohol addiction, Nimoy's life was ultimately claimed by another habit: smoking. He passed away at the age of 83 due to complications related to his smoking habit. Nimoy's journey serves as a reminder of the challenges many individuals face when confronted with the pressures of fame and the allure of addiction. His resilience in confronting and overcoming his struggles with alcohol addiction is a testament to his strength and determination. William Claude Fields. Sometime in life, we decide to live a little, and that decision is the moment when William Claude's life turned upside down. He was a man known for his strict discipline regarding alcohol. "I have never imbibed while sleeping, and I drink nothing stronger than gin before breakfast." Born William Claude Dukenfield. Above a bar in the era before Prohibition, Fields amassed a vast collection of whiskey and gin bottles in his attic when the era of Prohibition began. Even after Prohibition's repeal, he maintained a substantial reserve of emergency alcohol at his home. He humorously justified this by remarking to Harpo Marx, "Never can be sure Prohibition won't be back, my boy." One of the classic anecdotes involving Fields and alcohol is that he would carry a vacuum flask filled with gin martinis on set, humorously referring to it as his lemonade. On one occasion, however, a mischievous individual swapped the contents of his flask with actual lemonade, leading to Fields' irate exclamation, "Who put lemonade in my lemonade?" Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford's marriage to the CEO of PepsiCo not only tied her to one of the corporate giants, but also led to an interesting chapter in her life. Given her status as a highly acclaimed actress, her husband saw an opportunity for a shrewd business move. He appointed her as the official ambassador for Pepsi. This newfound role took Joan on a global tour, representing the Pepsi brand across the world. However, what's intriguing is her personal preference during these tours. At each stop, her demands for libations included 2/5 of Smirnoff, 1/5 of Old Forester bourbon, 1/5 of Scotch, 1/5 of Beefeater gin, 2 bottles of champagne, and naturally, a case of Pepsi. It's quite amusing that Joan's choice of beverage for her gatherings was Pepsi, avoiding any mention of its rival, Coca-Cola, in her party plans. Joan Crawford's unique blend of glamour, stardom, and personal preferences certainly added a touch of intrigue to her role as the ambassador for Pepsi. Dean Martin. King of cool, Dean Martin himself once shared a humorous perspective on life, stating, "I feel sorry for people who don't drink. When they wake up in the morning, that's as good as they're going to feel all day." Much of Dean Martin's onstage persona revolved around the image of a lovable and jovial drinker. He played this character so convincingly that many believed he was genuinely consuming alcohol during his performances. However, according to his daughter and close friends, it was all part of an act, and Dean Martin often had apple juice in his glass. It was the combination of the drink and a cigarette in his hand that contributed to his charismatic and revered image. Dean Martin's charm and charisma made him a figure many men admired and aspired to emulate, while women were drawn to his magnetic presence. Despite his public persona as a carefree drinker, Dean Martin was known as a devoted father who consistently made time to be present for family dinners. He shared a cocktail with his wife in the evenings, displaying a more measured and responsible approach to alcohol in his personal life. While Dean Martin's career was undeniably associated with alcohol, he appeared to have danced with the allure of this lifestyle, but knew when to draw the line. His passing in 1995, at the age of 78, marked the end of an era, leaving behind a legacy of entertainment and a charismatic persona that continues to captivate audiences worldwide. Clara Bo. Sometimes it's difficult to tell which of the stories surrounding classic stars are real and which are the products of exaggeration, studio spin, mythologization by overeager fans, or themselves, or just straight-up lies passed around by bitter enemies. Clara Bo, in particular, was a victim of the latter, and many of the more sordid stories that surround her name are patently untrue. There was an almost wholly fabricated article that appeared in a newspaper called the Coastal Times that accused her of nearly every indecency under the sun. Later, in his notorious book, Hollywood Babylon, Kenneth Anger claimed that Bo regularly availed herself of the entire USC football team after their games. On the other hand, there was a reason these stories stuck so well. Some of the things they printed actually were true, and the wild life that the original It Girl really did live made the nuttier accusations seem that much more plausible. Bo helped establish the modern image of the flapper. She liked to party. She was seen at bars. She slept with men, some of them married, and she flaunted it all on screen. Among the more credible tales about Bo's behavior is the time that Paramount president B.P. Schulberg invited her to a party celebrating a recently appointed judge. She arrived at the party already drunk and proceeded to introduce herself to the judge by aggressively French, kissing him in front of his wife, then dancing with him until she was unceremoniously escorted off the premises by studio personnel. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor, celebrated for her beauty and acting talent, faced her share of personal struggles, including alcoholism and addiction to painkillers. In 1983, Taylor took a courageous step by becoming the first celebrity to seek treatment at the Betty Ford Center. Betty Ford, the wife of U.S. President Gerald Ford, had overcome similar addictions herself and established the Rehabilitation Center to offer support to others in need. Taylor's decision to confront her addiction had a profound impact on countless individuals who were silently battling similar issues. Through her openness about her journey to recovery, Elizabeth Taylor helped destigmatize residential treatment for addiction, offering hope and a path to recovery for millions of Americans. Freed from the shackles of addiction, Taylor discovered a new calling beyond acting, becoming a dedicated champion for AIDS awareness, prevention, and research. Her advocacy and philanthropic efforts in the fight against AIDS showcased her commitment to making a positive difference in the world and demonstrated the power of personal transformation and resilience. Elizabeth Taylor's legacy extends far beyond her cinematic achievements, leaving an indelible mark on both the entertainment industry and the realm of humanitarianism. Robert Shaw. The filming of Jaws in 1975 was famously challenging, with its share of difficulties, including the presence of big sharks, choppy waters, and occasional tension among the cast and crew. One notable aspect of the production was Robert Shaw's consumption of scotch during long filming days, which sometimes led to conflicts between him and his co-star Richard Dreyfuss. Shaw was known to be inebriated for much of the filming, except for a particular scene in which his character was meant to be drunk. Richard Dreyfuss later revealed that he got along well with Shaw when he was sober, but found him difficult to tolerate when he was drunk. In one instance, Dreyfuss even took a glass of alcohol out of Shaw's hand and poured it into the ocean as a way to address the issue. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy was not what anyone would have called a fun drunk, and his behavior when under the influence earned him a reputation as a volatile and sometimes violent drunk. Despite being a two-time Oscar winner and receiving 9 nominations in total, Tracy's personal life was marked by his problematic relationship with alcohol. Tracy often found himself in bar fights, frequently ended up in police custody, and even experienced an unsettling incident where he woke up in a padded cell in a Chicago asylum. His fear of flying led him to opt for train travel, during which he would pack his suitcase with bottles and drink excessively while crossing the country. While Tracy did have periods of sobriety, once he started drinking, he had difficulty stopping. His binges sometimes involved isolating himself in hotel rooms for weeks, spending much of that time in the bathtub and neglecting basic needs like using the toilet. His excessive drinking became a major concern, and at one point, the Fox studio issued an ultimatum: either quit drinking or lose his job. Tracy responded by leaving the office, going to a nearby bar, getting thoroughly intoxicated, and returning to the office to express his disapproval in a destructive manner. Subsequently, MGM signed Tracy, well aware of his drinking issues. The studio even maintained a dedicated team, known as the Tracy Squad, whose sole purpose was to manage and assist the actor during his depressive and alcoholic episodes. Bars within a 25-mile radius were provided with their contact information. When summoned, this team would arrive with an ambulance, a doctor, and several security guards to discreetly escort Tracy away for a period of sobering up, away from the public eye. Richard Harris, another lionized member of the Oliver Reed gang. Richard Harris was every bit the actor, and every bit the alcoholic, as his inebriated contemporaries. Harris, originally from Ireland, displayed a penchant for alcohol from a young age. As a teenager, he found himself in trouble after crashing his father's delivery truck into a low bridge due to inebriation. The incident was so severe that he managed to lift the bridge off its supports and wedge the truck underneath. When questioned by the police, Harris humorously claimed that he was delivering this bridge to Limerick. His journey into acting led him to the London stage and eventually to Hollywood, where he achieved fame and fortune. With the financial means to indulge in his desires, Harris embraced a hedonistic lifestyle characterized by promiscuity and heavy drinking. He reportedly consumed as much as 2.5 bottles of vodka daily and became a regular visitor to the London drunk tank. During his drinking days, Harris had a preferred order of 6 double vodkas at the bar, which the bartenders would routinely prepare for him without needing to be asked. Harris's alcohol-fueled escapades often led to bizarre encounters with the authorities. On one occasion, he was discovered lying in the middle of the street by a policeman. When asked what he was doing, Harris responded that he felt like the world was spinning. When questioned about how lying in the street would help, his response was, "I'm waiting for my house to go by." Despite his public struggles with alcohol and the dark moods that sometimes plagued him, Harris made efforts to shield his children from the worst of it and create joyful experiences when he was with them. His son Jared recounted one such adventurous episode. Frank Sinatra. The legendary crooner. Frank Sinatra was often described as a functioning alcoholic, a man whose affinity for whiskey, particularly Jack Daniels, was well known. He had a signature drink, a simple concoction of 4 ice cubes, 2 fingers of Jack Daniels, and a dash of water, served in the classic rocks glass. Rumor has it that he consumed an entire bottle of Jack Daniels daily, much to the astonishment of his doctor. His life played out in the unforgiving glare of the spotlight, and he seemed to embody the mantra, "The best is yet to come." However, this wasn't always the case, as alcohol had the power to transform him into a belligerent and occasionally confrontational figure. When under the influence, he sometimes engaged in heated disputes with journalists or fellow actors, making it imperative to tread carefully around him. One of his wives once revealed that she would lock herself in their room upon seeing him drink gin, as it was known to bring out his mean streak. Sinatra was part of an exclusive circle, including his close friends and other Hollywood elites, humorously dubbed the American Olympic Drinking Team. Despite his tumultuous relationship with alcohol, Sinatra left an enduring legacy in the world of entertainment. When he passed away in 1998 at the age of 82, he was laid to rest with a bottle of Jack Daniels in his casket, a fitting symbol of his enduring bond with the spirit that had been both his companion and his nemesis, Michael Landon. Michael Landon, renowned for his iconic roles in television series like Bonanza and Little House on the Prairie, was the epitome of the clean-cut, wholesome television figure. However, behind the scenes, he grappled with an addiction to alcohol and Valium, casting a shadow over his otherwise pristine image. While his co-stars were aware of his drinking to some extent, they had no inkling of the extent of his alcohol consumption on set. Landon would discreetly mix whiskey into his coffee and add vodka to soft drinks. After the day's filming concluded, he and his colleagues would adjourn to a bar to continue their drinking. Melissa Gilbert, who portrayed Landon's on-screen daughter in Little House, revealed that, as a child, she was unaware of her TV father sipping vodka from his coffee mug. However, she humorously remarked that her subconscious attraction to men who smelled like alcohol might have been influenced by Landon's behavior. In addition to his alcohol and painkiller use, Landon was a heavy smoker, consuming 4 packs of unfiltered cigarettes daily. This excessive smoking likely contributed to the development of pancreatic cancer, which tragically claimed his life at the age of 54. Landon's story serves as a poignant reminder of the devastating impact of alcohol addiction, even on individuals who appear to have it all. Fame may exacerbate the normalization of excessive drinking. In conclusion, for anyone struggling with alcohol dependence, it is crucial to seek help, confide in someone, and take one day at a time. This list only scratches the surface of the many celebrities who have publicly battled alcohol addiction. Some found the help they needed to achieve sobriety, while others sadly succumbed to their struggles. If you know of any notable celebrities who have famously wrestled with addiction, please share their stories in the comments below. There are undoubtedly more stories to be told, such as Craig T. Nelson's candid admission about his performance in Poltergeist, where he barely remembers filming the movie and can sense his absence when watching clips of himself. Barbara Payton. Barbara Payton's journey in Hollywood is a tragic tale of rapid rise and fall. She arrived in the city as a beautiful and ambitious 20-year-old aspiring actress and model, achieving her dreams of stardom with astonishing speed, only to descend into a self-destructive whirlwind of alcohol and drugs that ultimately claimed her life before she reached 40. In the late 1940s, as Payton entered Hollywood, the film industry was still basking in its golden age. She quickly became part of the hedonistic scene that defined the era, characterized by wild parties, nightclub extravaganzas, and the infamous casting couch. Barbara earned the moniker Queen of the Nightclubs from columnist Harrison Carroll, and her name was often linked with Hollywood luminaries such as Howard Hughes, Bob Hope, and notorious mobster Mickey Cohen. While she managed to secure roles in several prominent films, including Trapped, Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, and Only the Valiant, her dedication to the party lifestyle gradually eclipsed her commitment to her career. Her life soon devolved into a series of self-destructive actions and turbulent relationships, most notably a tumultuous love triangle involving herself, Franchot Tone, and Tom Neal. As her personal life spun further out of control, Barbara Payton found herself reduced to a mere shadow of her former self. She resided in a Skid Row apartment and, according to reports, engaged in solicitation to support her bar-hopping habits. In her memoir, I Am Not Ashamed, she candidly recounted her extraordinary ascent and the devastating plummet that followed. Her memoir painted a vivid picture of the heights she had once reached and the depths of her eventual decline. Tragically, Barbara Payton's life was cut short at the age of 39 due to complications arising from alcohol-induced heart and kidney disease, marking the end of a tumultuous journey through Hollywood's glitzy but perilous landscape. Cary Grant. Cary Grant grappled with alcoholism during the 1950s and took a unique path to seek treatment for his addiction. He turned to a relatively new drug at the time, LSD, under the guidance of his doctor. Surprisingly, Grant found that he enjoyed the experiences he had while taking LSD and even introduced some of his friends to it. Judy Balaban, the daughter of Paramount's president, once remarked, "I figured if it was good enough for Cary Grant, it was good enough for me." Grant is estimated to have undergone LSD therapy around 100 times during his treatment period. Remarkably, this unconventional approach had a profound impact on his perspective on life, leading to a happier and healthier existence. He went on to live contentedly until his passing at the age of 82. Richard Burton. To suggest that someone is usually drunk is, of course, an exaggeration, but Richard Burton came remarkably close to embodying this notion. Burton's relationship with alcohol began at the astonishingly young age of 12 and continued unabated throughout his life, despite doctors' warnings and personal turmoil, until his passing at the age of 58. His body bore the ravages of alcohol-related damage, pushing the limits of medical science. Burton is most renowned for his compelling Shakespearean performances on both stage and screen, his collaborations with Peter O'Toole, and his roles in iconic films such as Cleopatra and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, in which he starred alongside his on-again, off-again wife, Elizabeth Taylor. During their time together, Richard's daily routine revolved around alcohol consumption. He would commence his drinking marathon as early as 7 a.m., continuing throughout the day until he succumbed to unconsciousness, only to repeat the cycle. His typical routine involved starting with a case of beer in the morning, which he would diligently work through. Once that was depleted, he would transition to hard liqueur. In contrast, Elizabeth Taylor, his legendary spouse, was relatively moderate in her drinking habits, typically not starting until 10 a.m. In the filming of The Night of the Iguana in 1964, Burton insisted on having a private bar both at the top and bottom of the staircase leading to the set. In 1984, Richard Burton's life came to an abrupt end due to a cerebral hemorrhage. By this point, his kidneys had swollen to abnormal proportions, and his spine was encrusted from top to bottom with crystallized alcohol. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum was no pretty boy leading man. He was a dark, brooding force, that was known to bring chaos in the wake of his drunkenness. Mitchum became notorious for his off-screen exploits and even ended up in jail after falling victim to a police sting looking for Hollywood stars that partied too much. Mitchum described working with Frank Sinatra, Broderick Crawford, and Lee Marvin in Not as a Stranger as not so much a cast as it was a brewery. The drinking commenced in the morning and continuing through the insane parties at night where, amongst other acts of debauchery, hotel rooms were trashed. Crawford was forced to eat Sinatra's wig, and then, in a later incident, poor Broderick was also thrown off a hotel balcony. Their room deposits were not returned. During the filming of His Kind of Woman, Mitchum had a scene where he gets attacked by a gang of thugs. On the day they went to shoot the attack, Mitchum had started hitting the bottle early, and somewhere along the line he forgot about the whole pretending aspect of acting. Mitchum, a huge man and a brawler since his youth, started throwing around the unsuspecting stuntmen. The aggrieved employees who were just doing their job naturally took exception to this behavior, which sparked a totally not-pretend set-wide brawl. This was just seen as Mitchum being Mitchum, however, as his reputation had been well established at that point. During the filming of River of No Return, director Otto Preminger banned alcohol from the set. When he later caught an actor carrying a bottle of vodka toward the trailers, he started to lay into the young man until he explained, "I'm just taking it to Mitchum." "Oh, well, that's different," replied the director, and let the actor proceed with his delivery. Orson Welles. A young Orson, just 15, standing at the crossroads of life, his family's fortune in shambles, and a bitter taste of alcoholism lingering in his past. It all began with his father, a notorious drunkard whose reckless behavior blew the family's wealth away like leaves in the wind. So what did our budding genius do? He did what any teenager would. He estranged himself from his family, hoping his absence would be the wake-up call his father needed. Little did he know, their paths would never converge again. His father, trapped in the clutches of alcoholism, met his end without the chance for reconciliation. The guilt that gripped young Orson was monumental, and ironically, it sowed the seeds for his own battle with the bottle. While working in Rome on black magic, Welles helped popularize a previously little-known cocktail called the Negroni when he sent a message to a stateside newspaper extolling its virtues. "The bitters are good for your liver, the gin is bad for it. They balance each other out." Welles's interesting ideas about how the human body works notwithstanding, this endorsement was the first time many Americans heard of the rust-colored gin drink, and sales shot up in bars across the country. As Welles's excesses grew, so did his size. The formerly svelte Welles grew to nearly 400 pounds, due in no small part to his nightly dinner, 2 rare steaks and a pint of scotch. His behavior on set became more erratic, and he was known to drink between takes. Later in his life, and perhaps due to his success in boosting the Negroni's popularity, Welles became the pitch man for a number of different alcohol companies.